So open your activity main XML file. So here is constraint layout. Constraint layout is added on Android 6 maybe. So because this application is based on suitable for Android 5, so the constraint layout is added like support constraint layout because it is used from a backward library. But I want you to learn from an easy layout, so we can change the constraint layout to linear layout. You can just type LIN, then you can see the linear layout here, then press enter. Also change the end to linear layout. So the linear layout needs orientation. I will show you how the orientation works. Delete the text, just add a button, match parent, 100 dp, this width is also 100 dp, and the background, add color, white. Then add the other button, we use black color, and that's 2 buttons. Change to white. Also, you can change the background of the whole layout. Background and color. It's gray. Okay. So from this label to this 0, it's the setting for the whole layout. And that's the end label is the end for the linear layout. So in layout, you can add views in layout, but you cannot add view in views. Like we cannot add the other button inside this button, but we can insert button and views inside the layout. And if we want to change the setting of the linear layout, we have to put it before this 0. But if we want to change the content inside the layout, we have to change the views component after this 0, but before this tag. So that's the scope of the different tag. Then we can see the button, white is on top, black is on the bottom, because the white button is before the black button. And this layout is called linear layout, and the orientation and the vertical. But if we change it horizontal, then you can change the button, the black button change to the right side, and the white button at the left side. So that's the attributes orientation, how the orientation works. And if you want, so if we change back to vertical, black on the bottom, so if you want to put the button in the middle, that means you have to change the position of the button. So the button, it belongs to this layout. So you have to change the attribute of the button. And the attribute is called layout gravity center. So you don't need to remember all the words about attributes. You just need to remember the keyword like layout, gravity. For example, if you want to add a text, so you just need to text. Then show you text color, text, which shows button 2. And change the text color, just need to text, then choose text color, and the color white. Then you can see it in the design mode. So the gravity has different attribute for the button, also for the text. If we want to change the gravity of the text, Android gravity bot, then you can see the word go to the bottom. So the difference between layout gravity and gravity is the layout gravity is for button itself and the position inside the layout, and the gravity is its own gravity. It's for the content inside the button. If you want to add more space between these two buttons, we use margin. Then 20 dp. So you can see a space, 20 dp space between these two buttons. This is called linear layout. Linear layout, you can set orientation, you can set a gravity, and you can add buttons and other components inside the layout. And the other one, we call it relative layout. The relative layout don't need orientation. So the position inside the layout is the position according to other views components. So we create inside, like I said, inside layout, you can add other component. So also a layout. So inside the relative layout, we insert another relative layout. Then the width with mass parent height give a 80 dp. Then the color, we use the blue. So the background color blue, bright. And also we can also add the other linear layout. Set this one. We put two buttons. Button width is 60 dp. I think you already know the Google has a design style called material design, and in that document this recommend the size of button at least 58 dp, because if the button is too small, the user cannot touch it. So the size for a button is at least 58 dp. And it's a button, give a color, Android color, orange, black. So check the first. If you so for example, because this is next to, and you can also change the device size here. So let's change it to 5.5. You can also change the orientation, like portrait landscape, for the device. So it will look same as your normal device. How to set the position of the component inside the relative layout. So for this one, we can set align parent top and attribute container true. So difference between linear layout and relative layout is, in linear layout, you use a contribute attribute, then set the attribute content. And in relative layout, you give an attribute content, then set it true or false. So if I set it to true, then the blue title will align to the parent. So the total layout is the parent. So it align to the parent top. If I change to align parent bottom and true. You can see the title bar go to the bottom. So that's how we change the position inside the relative layout. Change back to top. Then this button, we create a linear layout, also same size, TP. Then the background color, we use white. You can see the default, if you didn't set the position of the layout, the component inside the relative layout, the default position is on top. So if we change it to line parent dot and set it to true, and the position of this linear layout go to the bottom. Then we want this button is at the left corner of the title. So we have to further change the position of the button, layout gravity. Okay, so this is inside the relative layout. So it's aligned to parent left and true. And margin is 20 dp. Then so 2210. Okay. Then we create the other button and put it on the right side of the title. So align parent, change to right and true. So yeah, you can see these two buttons, one on the right, left, one on the right. And in the center, we want to put a title. So we create a text view and layout warp content. And the text is summer example. So when we check it, the style too small, and the position should change to the center in parent and true, and the text size is 36 SP. The DP is for the size of component, and for the font size, we use SP. So the two different metric, but it use the same concept. Generally speaking, in the first version, the Android used inch, like millimeters, so the actual size in our real world. So after with the developing of Android, they found out there are too many screens for Android phones. So they create a new metric. This metric will calculate your screen density. So and the solutions. So if you use 36 SP in a small screen size, and also using a big screen, they will roughly occupy this. The occupied space is roughly the same portion of the screen. So we have a big screen, and we have a small screen, and the word is 36 SP. Then the text will become bigger here and smaller here. So the actual size on the screen will be calculated according to the screen density. So I will show you how to calculate, but you just need to know this concept now. So just remember for the views use DP, and for the text font use SP. Then in the center, text size and the text color, we use white. Then let's check the text view. Oh, it's too big. Then change it back to 30 SP. Okay. So that's for the title bar. So now we know how to change the position inside the relative layout and also in the linear layout. The linear layout why they have this? We have created another button. This is we have two buttons, demo and work. This is demo and this is the work. Demo fragment, work fragment, and the text color is black. We use black. And color transparent. So in linear layout, a button, all the views can be divided to equal space. So the attributes we use is weight. 1, and don't forget the orientation for the linear layout. We use horizontal. Then if you use this attribute, you have to change the width to 0. 0dp warp content. Inside the linear layout, it should be layout weight. Yeah. I'm sorry, so if you want to use the layout weight, you have to set all the layout weight for all the components inside the linear layout. And the width for for each attribute should be 0dp, then height, the warp content. This is match parent, yes. So the linear layout will calculate the size of each component. Then, because we have two buttons inside this linear layout, so the linear layout will divide the total space to 2 buttons. So each button will have an equal space here. So that's how to set content and position inside a linear layout. And between layout, linear layout, horizontal, diamond, bottom, 60 dp, and this one is also 60 dp. Then we got our first layout. They have a title bar, and we can call it a toolbar. And these 2 buttons, you can add functions to the buttons, and we will put a list view here so you can scroll. And these 2 buttons will switch from demo fragment and work fragment. So if you want to change the capital letters to small case to lowercase, we can set tabs all caps false. So it will go to normal cases. Then if you want to set a divider between two buttons, so you can use a view. So you can draw a line with a view between the two buttons, like view. View is kind of like we put it like a empty container, and the width we can use. So the width should be 0 dp because we have to use layout weight. Then the height is match parent, and the color background color black, and layout weight 0.01. Then you can find a line here. It's better to change it to gray, and margin about 1 dp, margin top 1 dp. So we can see a divider between these two buttons, and so inside one linear layout, you can use layout weight to divide to set the size for different components according to the numbers here. So if you set 1 for these two buttons will have the equal size. Because we set a view, the weight is 0.01. So the size of this view is 1% of the button. So you can see it here. The other one I want to see about the margin is, if you just use margin here, that means it will set a 10 dp margin for the 4 edges of the button. But if you specify 1 edge, like the margin top and margin bottom, so it will only add a space on the top and on the bottom, so it will no space on the left side and on the right side. The margin will add space to 4 edges. And the other attributes is called padding. I put it in the button. Okay, I will put a list view. Let's put a view first between the relative layout and linear layout. Okay, so if you want, so that's one title bar on the top and one toolbar on the bottom. So if we want to put a list view between these bars, so we have to specify the exact position. But before that, we have to set ID to each layout. So for the ID, so each layout, every component have to use a unique ID, even though they are in different files, they are in different layout, they are in different activity. They should be use the unique ID. So if two components has the same ID, you will receive an error, or the ID don't give you error, just don't let you run without errors. So you have to make sure each component use a unique ID. I suggest you to use the ID start with the activity name. It's main activity, the underslash, then this is the relative layout. Start with the activity name, then the function. So the linear layout also create an ID, main activity, linear layout. Or we can use the function name. This is a main activity, and this is a title layout. And title 02 layout. So with this two ID, we can specify the exact location of the view. We can I use the text view first. Text view as parent, and you can see below layout below ID of main title, and above ID main 2, and the text is a test. The text view has a background color, use a white color, and I enlarge the text size to 50 SP, 100 SP. Okay, and the gravity center. Okay, that's a text view we put between the title bar and the toolbar. So you can use two ID to specify the exactly location. If you want some space between the screen edge to the text view, so like we did we use margin. So let's try margin align view top margin left. Let's see 20 dp. Then you can see a space between the screen and the edge, or the left edge of the text view. But if I use padding, the other attributes, padding left 20 dp. $50 dp. Okay, you can see the text moved because the padding is you have a screen, you have a layout. This can be any layout. So inside the layout, we want to add buttons or text view inside it. So that's a text. Then we add a content inside the text view. So if you have the other component. So the margin is the space between two components. So from the bottom, so if you set the margin bottom for the text view, so that's the space you added between two components. The padding is because the text view has a content, the image view has a picture. The padding is the space between the content and the edge. So that's a padding, that's a margin. So this is the final exam question. Then we change it to list view.
Does the padding increase the size of the...
No. So the size is controlled by the layout width and height. So this is fixed. After you set this setting, then everything, so like we did, if you change the padding size, so the text will be scratched to the other way. Then that's the padding. Then did I miss something? Wait, background and text size. Layout. Wait. Okay. I have the other match parent is this. The current layout or the current button has the same size with its outside layout. So if I set this button height match parent, it will have the same size, same height with this layout because it's match parent. If we set the match parent for the outer layer layout, it has exactly the same size with the screen. And if you set it to text view, if you set the warp content, so the text view will use a size just for the text. So that's the difference between warp content and the match parent and exact numbers. And do you have any question about attributes in the layout file?
Can you explain that match pair again?
Okay, the match parent is we have a so that's our Android phone. This is the first layer. So everyone switch to HDMI. So every layout file will start with one layout. So that's an out layer about the screen, about the activity. So that's an out layer layout. We have an inner layout. We have button. So if you set a match parent for this button, it will have exactly the same with the out layer layout. And if you set the, so you can also shrink the out layer layout. So even though this is the first layer, you can also set it small, even though the phone is very big. So normally we set the out layer layout to match parent. So if you set the second layer match parent is matched to this layer. So the inner layer match parent is matched the outer layer parent, the size of the outer layer, not the first layer.
So in order to get that bottom label, you could just set the match parent to the outer layer?
So usually, like the logic here, usually can see the blueprint. So that's the out layer, the first layer of layout. Because then we set it match parent because we want the first layer layout has exactly the same size with the screen size. So we use match parent. But when we use relative layout, the title bar, we want the width has the same size with the screen, but the height is 880p. Because we want to have limited size to put buttons and text. So it's according to what you want to do in the layout. But you just need to remember the match parent is matched to the out layer layout, not the screen size.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
The tool and context. What's that do?
Which one?
Tools and context.
The
third line.
Third line, context.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one actually you can delete it and write normally. And I never use it in my development. I usually works as a label, but you can run without it. So it's not.
Sorry. Can you put that back? I just tools. What did you delete?
The tools context. The context. So one activity extends from context.
Correct.
So activity is context, and so this layout belongs to non-activity. But I never use it. So if you delete it or when you create a new layout, you didn't mention it, it doesn't matter.
Well, why would you delete? I mean, I know like.
You can keep it there, but
Sorry.
So if you keep it there, and if other activity try to access this layout, it will not work.
okay. But you delete it, can you access this layout?
If you don't delete it, can you access this layout from other activities?
So other activity can never get access this activity because in the non-activity, whether you get the buttons we will use this method to combine the layout component with the object in Java. So you can only access. So in one activity, in non-activity, you can only access this layout file. You cannot access other layout file. So this maybe I can check it later. So I never use it. So you can delete it. Doesn't matter. And okay. Any more questions about attributes? With an align parent is so you have to carefully about the difference between relative layout and linear layout because some attributes in linear layout are not workable in relative layout.
Will this be on your GitHub as an example?
No, I will not upload the code. So you have to type your code by yourself. Then to finish the project, the in-class project by yourself. Because I don't want anyone just copy and paste to your project. And on Wednesday, okay, so you can see a title bar here. This is system title bar. Usually we don't need it because we want to define our own title. So you can go to your manifest and change the theme. App theme dot so no title bar no action bar. So change the style, change the theme. Then this no action bar theme will delete the system title. So you can define your own title and other layout by yourself. I don't need to worry about the system title.